Hi everyone, it's Karen here, and I'm here with a new video. Today I am going to focus on what is mixed media. I've been doing a series of mixed media for beginners where I've been focusing on certain mediums such as gesso or gel medium, and I have some of those videos already up on my YouTube channel. But then my husband suggested that maybe I should do a video about what is mixed media. I think a lot of people are confused a little bit about what is mixed media. And if you're not confused, then this will just help you clarify certain things if you have any. And also for people like my husband who don't know what mixed media is, he sees me talking about it all the time because I talk a lot about my art and about mixed media, but he doesn't really know what it is. So this is basically for everyone who wants to know about mixed media, people that may know some but don't want to like expand on what they or on their knowledge, or simply people that don't know what mixed media is at all. So this is basically for everyone. And I want to clarify, this is my opinion on what I think is mixed media. I am just going by what I've learned and what I know. This is not, I didn't take any information from the internet to kind of gather. This is all my information, and it's basically my opinion on what I think mixed media is. And I always encourage people, if they want to specify and give information as well, go ahead and leave me a comment and tell me some more things. If I forgot anything that to say today, then that's a good way to kind of add things, because people go and read the comments and they could read about more information about this. So we're going to start about what is mixed media. And those two words, if you actually break them down, it's basically the key to everything. So we're going to start with media, because mixed, I think you know what mixed is mixing two things together or a few things together. But media is what is important to understand. So media is, by definition, is any type of supply that can be incorporated into art or into crafting. So that's basically anything, because you can incorporate absolutely anything into your art or into your crafting. If some people think of digital media, and that is just basically anything that you can do digitally, but I'm talking specifically about physical art that we can create. And media is basically the plural of medium, and medium is basically any type of supply that can be, or product that can be used for art. And that basically, the problem with that is such a huge term, and so many things are mediums, that it's really hard to really understand what is mixed media and what is not, or is there a difference between the two. And that's why it's so difficult for some people to really understand what mixed media is, because we have painters, people that do fine art and do sculpting and do painting and do drawing. And is that mixed media? Well, this is what I'm going to clarify a little bit, because it's just such a broad term that it's really hard for even for myself sometimes to really categorize where mixed media falls and what is it exactly. I have a little cheat sheet here, so just to remind me of some points in case I forget. So there's lots of different types of mediums, and I'm kind of going to categorize them into dry mediums and wet mediums. So things that are dry mediums are things like paper, beads, mica powder, how do you call this? Micro beads, yeah, glass beads, anything that is dry. So anything that is not sticky and not wet, glitter. I'm trying to think, any type of metal embellishment, wood embellishment, plastic. So basically anything that is dry that you can incorporate into your art. And then we have the wet mediums. So I'm kind of splitting those up just to make you understand what are mediums in general. And wet mediums are usually what people in art refer to as mediums or media. And we have things like gesso, all different kinds of gesso. So the white, the black, and the clear, and the different consistencies, which I talk about in my video all about gesso. So go ahead and go check that out. I'm linking that above as well. And then you have things like gel medium, which categorizes into so many things: matte medium, fluid medium, pouring medium. There's so many of those mediums out there, and I made actually 2 videos on that, because it was just so hard to like kind of put that all in one video and explaining all the differences between them. So that's in a different video that I'm also linking. I'm also going to link everything in the description area of this video so you know more or less what I'm talking about. Then there is modeling paste, there's texture paste, there's just so many things. There is sprays and waxes and texturizing things, and it just, the list becomes like huge. So there's so many mediums that this is why they call things mediums. So media, sorry, this is why they call things media. So I'm just going to go into the wet ones a little bit, because if you think about mixed media, most people specifically talk about the wet mediums. So that when you think mixed media, the first thing you think about is that all the wet mediums, and people get very, very scared as soon as they think of gesso and sprays and gels and things like that. But you don't realize that you are technically doing mixed media in a lot of your things without even realizing it, because it's very, very hard. Like, it's very hard to kind of categorize where mixed media is. So for example, a kid in kindergarten that does paper mache, or not kindergarten, in elementary school, that does a paper mache, or that takes a bunch of papers and glues things everywhere and then paints it all over, is that mixed media? Well, he used acrylic paints, which is a medium. He used glue, which is a second medium. He used paper, and he used some other objects. That's 4 objects. If we're going by that, then that kid did mixed media. And it's funny because whenever I do classes on mixed media, I always say to people, this is like kindergarten. You're going to see that you're going to be gluing and pasting things almost as we did in kindergarten. So you really need to kind of take away that fear, that word sounding mixed media, those 2 words, install fear in so many people because they think mixed media, that sounds so complicated. I don't really know what it is. And if I don't know what it is, I'm not going to try, because they're scared they're going to ruin their canvas, they're going their page, or ruin whatever it else because it's something wet and it's going to make a whole mess. Well, inks are wet. If you're a card maker, inks are wet. If you're spraying through stencils, or if you're doing inks through a stencil, that's wet. So there's many different things, and it's really hard to kind of categorize where mixed media lies. Like, what is mixed media? Is a card maker that is using inks and paper and stencils and also some other flowers and things, is that mixed media? They've used a bunch of mediums, and mixed media is a bunch of mediums mixed together. So it's really hard to categorize that, and really I don't really have an answer for that. So I find that I leave the mixed media definition to the person that is doing it. If you're just making really beautiful cards that have sprays and have like little beads and have glue and have flowers and have many different things, then you are. You know what? I'm not the one to say, no, that's not mixed media. It is. It's maybe a simpler form of mixed media, because it can be, there's so many different levels of what you can incorporate into this. But that's a beginner stage of mixed media, and that's a great way to start. So another thing is just really, I would tell people to just get out of having so much fear about what is mixed media and start experimenting. And to experiment, the best thing to do is to have a journal. I have a journal down here, and let me just show you. Oops. Oops. So I have a journal, and I've been doing some of the experiments. Some of the experiments in here with the gesso and the things, just to experiment things. And that's a great way to start mixed media, because you can have something that it's just a journal. You could use an old book, and you're not wasting anything. It's just stop fearing it. And I have a video on basically most common misconceptions people feel about mixed media, and I'll link that below as well, because people have such fear of it that they're not willing to even try because it sounds so complicated. But all mixed media is, in my opinion, is basically mixing a bunch of mediums together. So they can be wet mediums, they can be dry mediums, you can create a collage form of it, or you could just simply make a scrapbooking page or a card, and that is mixed media on its own. So technically, painters have been doing that for many, many years. They've been if you're just using acrylic paints, then maybe not. But some of them incorporate things like gel medium and paste and things into it, and that actually turns into mixed media. So there's really so many things. Like we've been doing that since, as I said, since kindergarten. So it's something that we need to kind of take away that fear and just really understand how simple mixed media is. So the question is like, how many mediums do you combine to make it mixed media? Is it just two? Because as soon as you have two, then it becomes media. I'm not sure. I think it's up to you to kind of decide if you're doing mixed media or not. I mean, yes, if you're only combining two elements, let's say gesso and modeling paste, that's still mixed media. If you're taking a bunch of glue and gluing a lot of things on a canvas or spraying a layout, that's still mixed media. To tell you the truth, you can never just use two mediums. It's very, very hard. That should be almost a challenge for somebody to only use two mediums on a project. So in reality, you end up using so many different mediums that it becomes mixed media whether you like it or not. That's basically what happens. And it's really important to understand that you are doing it even if you're not realizing it, because you're combining certain things together, and those are mediums on its own. So a lot of people think mixed media is only the wet mediums, but you have to understand that if you're putting those dry mediums like the paper and the glitter and the glue, I mean, not the glue is wet, sorry, the paper, the glitter, the flowers, the different things that are dry, you're combining those with the wet ones. That's still mixed media. So technically you might be doing that already and you don't even realize it. So it's basic. Oh, I actually covered all my points. There's a lot of tools that you can use for mixed media. And I have a video on the most common tools that I use myself for mixed media, and I'll link that as well below. And basically, it's just that. Mixed media is a combination of many different mediums, whether they're wet or dry or both. You could do only wet or you can do only dry, and basically combine everything together. You could say, I mean, is a scrapbooker a mixed media artist? Could be. A scrapbooking person that is just basically just using paper, that is not mixed media. But if you're combining anything else, stencils, modeling paste, sprays, and wet mediums with those dry mediums, then you're technically doing mixed media scrapbooking, which is how I actually started mixed media. I was a plain scrapbooker. I was doing everything, matting, cutting, pasting, and then suddenly a whole world opened up and I started adding different things, inks and sprays and stencils, and I got into mixed media, and then I started incorporating, once I learned, I started incorporating that into canvases, into my art journal, into cards. So it's basically such a broad term. So as long as you're using a bunch of mediums that are a combination of kind of wet and dry, then you're doing mixed media. And that is what I feel mixed media is. I could get a lot of people telling me that that's not what it is, but that is my opinion. That's what I feel, because I see people struggling with figuring it out what mixed media is, and that's really all it is. It's quite a simple thing. And once you know that that's what it is, then you just take away that fear of wetting something and being scared that it will damage. And yes, do you know right away how to use all the products? No, absolutely not. And you do have to learn kind of the formulas, what I call it. And you do learn, and it's great to watch beginner mixed media videos where they teach you what are those products and how to use them and what to combine with what, because that helps in your knowledge and also helps in developing your skills to really be able to use mixed media in other places, to use products in other places, not only in small areas like a scrapbook or a card, but you can develop yourself into doing outdoor projects and canvases and different things that are basically much more, I guess, let's say complicated, but they're really not complicated. But that way you learn. And go take classes. There's a lot of people that take classes. It's so hard to be a teacher and see people not go to my classes because they're so scared of the mixed media word that they're not. Sometimes I don't even include that word in my class description, because people are so afraid that they're not even willing to come and try, even though they might really like it, because there's really it's not really that difficult. So I really encourage people to stop fearing what the words mixed media is, and start experimenting and believing and trying and just having fun. So that's basically my suggestion, and I hope it clarifies a lot of things about what is mixed media. And please go and watch some of those videos that I posted already. I still have a few more coming up, but I just wanted to kind of get into the mixed media one, just to make sure that I help people understand the general term. So thank you so much, and I hope I got some points cleared out for everyone. Have an amazing day. Bye.